but she probably can't do it, so I'm just going to record this, and maybe it will become a YouTube since I'll become a gazillionaire. And, Jeff, are you on by any chance? No, I don't see him on the... He's on the screen share. I created a brand new machine that has nothing on it, and I rolled it back to the point of having nothing on it after I tried installing things. Sure. Let me ping Jeff. Oh wait, this is actually my first experience with Windows 8. I kind of stayed away from it, but I figured I built a virtual machine that's inside of my Mac. So, where's Jeff? Okay, that was,
Hello?
hello, Jeff.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going all right. Turn down your speakers. I hear my echo.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, I don't hear myself. All right, cool. So I had this theory that you can teach to someone in an hour and a half. So I will either be proven wrong, or you guys will know SQL to the extent people put that thing on their resume. I think it's universally useful.
We'll give it a shot.
Sure. I'm very much Tamla Hafus kind of person. I think having SQL on your resume in general is a very good thing because it shows some experience with having something as Microsoft SQL Server is good. I'm just going to go through the installing SQL Server right now. I hope you guys download kind of have this executable.
Yeah, I downloaded it from the links you gave me, I believe.
Okay. Well, so you should have a 160 megabyte or so thingy that's .exe file. Once you run it, it should start installing. I will blab about the. I hope it's. All right. So I set up the installation. So the first thing it asks. I can see your chat. It's going to extract the files, and then it's going to start the installation. And then the next thing it's going to do is going to catch that I'm missing .NET Framework 3.5. And in case you guys have a computer that's more broken in than this, Jeff, you might have missed it. What you're looking at is a brand new machine that I built as a virtual machine inside of my computer.
Okay.
So it's a brand new machine, even though somehow it inherited stuff that was on my desktop. So I'm gonna, at this thing, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna install new SQL Server standalone installation, add features to existing installation. So just to give you accept license terms, I read this thing, no, but I'm going to accept it anyway. Use Microsoft updates, whatever. I'm just going to take all the default choices as long as this thing lets me. Okay, and I want all of these checkboxes checked, and it did so by default. Next. So here it is. It's complaining that I don't have .NET Framework 3.5 service pack, whatever. I'm just going to open up IE and say .NET Framework 3.5. Okay. And I'm going to pick the second link. And I'm just going to say no thanks and continue. I'm not sure if you guys will go through this, but this will install so-called Bootstrapper, which is a small 2 MB program that fetches another 30 MB probably to install the rest of the stuff. And after this thing installs, I'm going to, inside of my SQL installation, I'm going to say check rules again, and it will be happy, and it will do this installation. What we're going to be looking at is so-called, it's a language called T-SQL, which is Microsoft flavor of the universal standard that's called SQL 89 or SQL 92 or something very old. So there was, I guess, some kind of convention where some kind of standard was adapted. So the T-SQL is Microsoft's flavor, Microsoft implementation of the standard SQL. So in general, everything that you see is applicable universally from SQL Server to Oracle to DB2 to even Access. But there are certain things that are kind of specific to the language. For example, Oracle has some special operators that are not available in SQL Server. Like, for example, they have this thing where if you have, imagine categories in a some kind of e-commerce shop where there is different depth of categories. Let's say it goes jewelry, and then you go deeper bracelets. It goes gold, silver, platinum, whatever. And another category like scarves, maybe it just goes, there's no depth there. So they actually have the thing that where you can specify parent ID column, and it will be able to traverse this tree-like structure with something that TLSQL has that SQL Server doesn't. But and here we'll be dealing with basic concepts, and we'll be relying on the demonstration database called AdventureWorks, or whatever, I don't remember, whichever one I told you to download. We'll kind of figure out once we get there. But this demo database, it has lots of tables, it has lots of data, and it's a great production-like database. It represents what you are likely to see out there in the wild. Well, probably it's going to be a little cleaner than what you will see in the wild, because things kind of evolve into barely manageable mess, and this database is probably going to be very kind of pretty and well thought out. But it's good for the purpose of. I'm gonna take notes. I'm gonna kind of keep running log of everything we're going to be doing, and maybe if you guys have no issues following me during the same kind of installation I'm doing right now. Might actually run faster in your machine since I'm running inside of a fake machine, virtual machine, which is slower. So there will be running log. I will be kind of building on top of what was shown previously. So it will be all very cumulative in its nature, but it will be a very good cheat sheet for you to just take a glance and know that, oh, I remember we did this, we joined this and that, and I remember we did something similar to this. Let me take a look at my cheat sheet and it should refresh your memory. Okay, so I'm going to rerun the rule checker, and I guess we passed because it took me to the instance configuration. I'm going to take all the defaults just for the sake of being very kind of plain vanilla-ish in the setup. So what is it asking me? It's asking me what accounts to use to run the service. I'm going to choose, there are two modes of authentication. Windows authentication mode, where whatever login you use to log into your machine is used to authenticate you to SQL Server, which is what most companies use in production in their real life. And there is also mixed mode, which allows you to have SQL Server specific credentials that mean nothing to Windows, where there is actually a built-in user called system administrator, or actually nobody uses that term, everyone says SA. So in SQL world, SA means system administrator, someone, it's a user that has super privileges. And I chose mixed mode, so I'll be able to type in the password. And I'm going to use the password of password with capital P 1000. Yeah. I'm going to go test 1000. Test 1000. So how do I know SQL? I've been developing for Microsoft on Microsoft platform for a while, and pretty much all of the, or most of the applications that I can think of, 95% of everything that I've done, the data eventually would find its final resting place inside of SQL somewhere. It will be persistent in SQL at the end of the day. So the way SQL Server works in general is it runs a program. Over the network, kind of like, imagine a web server, right? You hit a web server, and somehow internet routes you to the place on the web that you typed in, and the web server replies back with HTML, and then your browser sees that HTML and says, "Oh, there are images there. Give me the," and then your browser says, "Hey, web server, give me those images. Give me the JavaScript. Give me all that gobbledygook to make this stuff jump and dance." So SQL Server kind of works in the same way. There is a program running on the network, and people connect to it, and they run queries. They say, "Hey, SQL, here is this gobbledygook. Give me the data corresponding to that." So you issue queries, you get back data. So there is always this kind of like a request and response cycle. And once again, I've chosen mixed security. Means I can use SQL authentication alongside Windows authentication. So there is only mixed available and Windows only. Okay, I'm going to start taking notes. I don't think anyone's going to be asking about that, but just so you understand what the moving parts are. So there is this program that runs on the network. It's called SQL Server. Hopefully it's visible in your computers. Most I don't know about Windows 8. Let's see. So there is this under administrative tools, whatever. There is this thing called services. So services in Windows lists all the programs that are that can run unattended, and that should include SQL Server somewhere among other programs, but it hasn't installed yet, so it's probably one of the last steps. So at the end of our installation, I hope to see something that says Microsoft SQL Server, and it might have some additional stuff that we'll discuss if we have time, and it will say running, hopefully, because the service should be running. And we're going to be using a program that is also installed as part of this install, because I have to download SQL Server 2014 with tools. So what you have is actually a free edition of SQL Server that represents I think almost 100% of the commercial offering that you have to pay a lot of money for, except it has some limitations. It can be accessed by a limited number of processes at once. The database size is limited to 2 gigabytes. And there are maybe some other limitations that I don't remember anymore, or maybe I never knew them to start with. But in any case, this is something that's a free tool. It's very capable, and you should not run into any of the limitations. All right, you guys have any questions at this point? Malta, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm good.
Right, okay. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, I think I downloaded it all before. I have the SQL Server Management Studio up.
Oh, okay. So you're way ahead of the game. Okay. I'm going to tell my, let me throw some premium feed to the squirrels so it goes a little faster. I'm going to shut down other programs. This whole thing is running as a virtual machine on my Mac, actually, just to stick it to Microsoft. Jeff, any questions so far?
No, not yet.
Okay, all right. Okay, this will probably take another minute or so, I hope. Let me shut down more things. And maybe I'll turn off an extra display. Okay. See if I can make it run any faster. Configure what is that? Do options. Showing optimization. Faster virtual machine. So it's already set. This is as fast as it can go. The last percent, for some reason, is the heaviest percent in Microsoft programs. Let's see, maybe I can. While it's doing that. Okay. So, I named my computer SQL class, and it will come in handy in some instances. Okay, so setup is still going. Actually, don't get to work with the kind of data that Allah works with. Well, once I did it when I worked for a Bank of America, and I worked for, and I had to deal with accessing tables as big as 30 million, that have as much as 30 million rows, something that has, let's say, raw transaction file. There's actually a file passed around all the banks that have all the transactions, all the checking transactions for a day. And everybody kind of writes this file and passes it around in banking. So sometimes you do get to work with big data. Allah works with big data all the time. So the questions of optimization I might mention sometimes, they usually, like I will say that, oh, this is an expensive query. That means that that query makes computer work extra hard. When you work with big data of like 30 million rows or so, you can make server work so hard that you will actually have people who are in charge of making sure that it runs smoothly and fast reach out to you and say, what in the world are you doing? Don't you know how to write SQL? And I learned some SQL from these people. So when I mention any kind of optimization, if your data set is small, it's not a worry. If it's a SQL, it's installed on your machine, who cares? Usually it will become an issue only when you work with very large data sets, and very large, I mean, when I say very large, I mean millions of records. All right, looks like I'm done. All right, so I hope to see all the green check boxes here. Close. Okay, so we installed SQL. I hope you guys are tracking with me. Jeff, are you where I am? Roughly in the process?
I think roughly.
Okay.
I have the management studio open, so.
Oh, you have management. Oh, you're way ahead of the game. Okay. So so then I'm gonna pop up this AD Works. It's Adventure Works. This is the sample data. I had to download 2 items. So one of them was SQL Server and tools, which, you know, by tools they mean Management Studio. Another thing is that we're going to download sample databases. So I had to download first 2. Let me try this one first, the 54 megabyte one. So it's going to extract some files into this folder. Let's see what it extracts. So C sample SQL Server sample DBs. Okay, it's a zip. Let's extract all here. Are you guys running Windows 8 or Windows 7 or XP or something different?
I have Windows 8.
Okay, all right. Mark, are you also on Windows 8?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, do you have this looking thing in the bottom left?
On the bottom left.
Someone look at this.
I have the AD Works.
Okay, I don't know what that is. All right, so what I did is I extracted the file. So now we'll have to do some things in sync. So when I clicked on ADWorks.exe, what it did is extracted this thing, which was zip file. Inside of zip file was the .back file, which I assume is a backup of the database. So right now we're actually going to go through a kind of administrative steps. So start your Management Studio if you haven't started already, and connect to whatever instance of SQL Server was installed on your machine. Now, the way SQL Server works, for better or for worse, you're actually allowed to install side by side different versions of the program on the same machine. And the way you address what they call an instance of SQL Server is using network path, where you use machine name and the instance name. So if you install SQL Express, I remember somewhere along the installation, It asked me, do you want to use default instance name? And I said yes. And the default instance name for the free edition of SQL Server 2014 is SQL Express, like for all the previous SQL Expresses. And I'm going to use Windows authentication. Hopefully it will recognize that I am the master of this machine. I can just log in. Are you guys where I am, roughly? Are you inside of Management Studio and logged in and you see green arrow next to something?
Yes.
Malka? Okay.
Yes.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to restore this database. Now I actually haven't used SQL Server 2014. It used to be kind of